Most drivers trust their automatic car to handle everything on its own. It feels smooth, so nothing seems wrong. What often goes unnoticed is that many transmission problems begin with small everyday habits that do not show up right away. The system keeps adjusting quietly in the background. In this video, you will understand 15 common driving patterns that can affect long-term performance, and how simple changes can help keep your car running more smoothly. Mistake number 1. Holding the car on an incline, using the accelerator. In slow-moving traffic on a slope, it's common to keep the car from rolling back by gently pressing the accelerator instead of using the brake. It feels controlled, and for a moment, everything seems fine. But to hold the car in place this way, the transmission has to balance power against resistance. That creates a small amount of internal slipping. You won't notice it right away. The car doesn't jerk or warn you. But when this becomes a daily habit, especially in busy traffic, it adds heat inside the system and increases wear over time. It's one of those things that feels harmless because nothing goes wrong immediately. A simple change makes a difference here. Let the brake hold the car still, then move forward normally when needed. It reduces unnecessary strain and allows the transmission to work the way it was designed to. Mistake number 2. Keeping the car in drive during long idle periods. When you're waiting at a signal or stuck in traffic, keeping the car in drive with your foot on the brake is completely normal. For short stops, that's exactly how the car is meant to be used. The issue starts when those stops become longer and more frequent. Even though the car isn't moving, the transmission remains engaged while being held back by the brake. That means it's still under a light load the entire time. It's not something that causes sudden trouble, but repeated exposure like this can slowly add unnecessary stress. If you're waiting for a while at a long signal, a railway crossing, or heavy traffic, shifting into park gives the system a break. It allows everything to settle instead of staying active without movement. Over time, small habits like this can help maintain smoother operation. Mistake number 3. Light pressure on the brake while driving in traffic, especially when following closely. It is easy to keep slight pressure on the brake without realizing it. The car still moves forward, so nothing feels unusual. Even light brake contact creates constant resistance. The vehicle tries to move ahead while the braking system gently holds it back. To maintain speed, the transmission adjusts and works against that drag. It may not show immediate effects, but repeated use increases heat and affects smooth driving. A simple fix is to use the brake only when needed and fully release it while moving. Clear inputs help the system operate more efficiently. Mistake number 4. Interrupting gear changes with unsteady acceleration. In stop-and-go traffic, driving often becomes a pattern of short movements. It is common to press the accelerator, then quickly ease off, and then press again as traffic changes. It feels normal and happens without much thought. However, automatic transmissions are designed to respond directly to driver input, such as acceleration and braking. When the accelerator is pressed, the system prepares to shift into the next gear. If input changes suddenly before the shift completes, the process is interrupted and must adjust again. From the driver's seat, nothing feels wrong. The car continues moving smoothly, but repeated interruptions create extra internal work, affecting how consistently the system operates. A steady and smooth acceleration pattern allows each gear change to complete properly. If you find this helpful, consider subscribing for more simple, practical car tips like this. Mistake number 5. Driving at very low speeds in heavy traffic. In slow-moving traffic, especially during long commutes, the car often moves in short bursts. A few seconds forward, then a pause, then forward again. It feels like a normal part of daily driving, and most people do not think much about it. Behind the scenes, the transmission is constantly adjusting to these small changes in speed. It shifts between lower gears again and again as the car moves and slows repeatedly. While the system is designed to handle regular driving, this kind of constant fluctuation increases internal activity. Each shift may feel smooth, but the frequency of these changes adds up. The system is working continuously, even though the car is barely moving at times. A simple way to ease this is by maintaining a slightly larger gap from the vehicle ahead. Instead of moving in short bursts, allowing a smoother and more consistent flow reduces the need for repeated gear changes and helps the car operate more calmly. Mistake 6. Ignoring small irregularities during the first drive of the day. When starting the car in the morning, It is not unusual to notice a slight hesitation, a mild jerk, or a brief delay in response. Since these changes often disappear after a few minutes of driving, many drivers do not pay much attention to them. However, these early moments can reflect how the system behaves before reaching its normal operating condition. The transmission fluid may not yet be circulating at its most effective level, and components are still settling into regular function. While an occasional variation is not a concern, repeated patterns can offer useful insight. Small changes that appear regularly, even if they fade quickly, can indicate that something is gradually shifting. Paying attention to consistency matters more than reacting to a single instance. Noticing patterns early helps in understanding how the car behaves, rather than waiting for a more obvious change later. Mistake 7. Using cruise control on uneven roads. Cruise control is useful for maintaining a steady speed with minimal effort, especially on long highway drives. On flat, consistent roads, it helps reduce the need for constant pedal input and can make the drive feel more relaxed. The situation changes when the road is uneven or has frequent slopes. When the car moves uphill or downhill, the system automatically adjusts power to maintain the selected speed. To do that, the transmission shifts more often, sometimes moving between gears repeatedly within a short distance. These changes are smooth enough that most drivers do not notice them clearly. However, frequent adjustments mean the transmission is working continuously to respond to changing road conditions. It is not a problem in short stretches, but regular use in such conditions increases internal activity. Allowing slight variation in speed on uneven roads by driving manually can reduce unnecessary shifting. Using cruise control where the road remains stable helps keep the system working in a more balanced way. Mistake number 8. Frequently switching driving modes. Many modern cars offer different driving modes such as economy, sport, or manual. Each mode changes how the vehicle responds, including how the transmission shifts and how the engine delivers power. It can be tempting to switch between these modes during a single trip, especially when conditions change slightly. Every time a mode is changed, the system adjusts its behavior. Shift timing, response sensitivity, and internal control patterns all shift to match the selected mode. When this happens repeatedly within a short period, the system is constantly recalibrating instead of settling into a steady rhythm. From the driver's perspective, the car may still feel responsive. There is no immediate indication that anything is being affected. However, frequent switching can lead to less consistent performance and increased internal adjustments. Choosing a mode that suits the overall driving condition and staying with it for the journey allows the transmission to operate more smoothly and predictably. Mistake number 9. Letting the car creep forward excessively. Automatic cars are designed to move forward slowly when the brake is released. This creeping function is helpful in situations like parking or navigating tight spaces, where precise movement is required. In heavy traffic, many drivers rely on this behavior instead of using the accelerator. When the car is allowed to creep forward for extended periods, the transmission remains lightly engaged the entire time. It continues to apply a small amount of power to keep the car moving, even though the speed is very low. Each moment may seem gentle, but the constant engagement creates ongoing internal activity. Because it happens gradually, it is easy to overlook how often the system is being used in this way. Using light-controlled acceleration, instead of relying entirely on creeping movement, gives better control and reduces continuous load. Small adjustments in driving habits can help the system operate with less strain and more consistency. Mistake number 10. Driving with mismatched tire conditions. Tires often seem unrelated to how a transmission works, but they play a bigger role than most drivers expect. When tires differ in size, wear level, or air pressure, each wheel can rotate at a slightly different speed. The car's system reads these differences and tries to adjust accordingly. The transmission depends on accurate input from the wheels to decide when to shift. When those signals are inconsistent, shifting patterns may not be as smooth or predictable. The driver may notice small changes in how the car responds, although nothing feels clearly wrong. The issue is not immediate failure, but inconsistency in how the system behaves. Over time, irregular input can affect overall driving smoothness. Keeping all tires in similar condition and maintaining proper air pressure helps the vehicle operate with better balance. Even small differences can influence how the system reacts. Mistake number 11. Ignoring software updates in modern vehicles. In many newer cars, the transmission is controlled not only by mechanical parts but also by software. The system uses programmed logic to decide how and when to shift based on driving conditions. Manufacturers sometimes release updates to improve performance, refine shifting patterns, or correct minor issues. These updates are designed to make the system operate more efficiently and consistently. When updates are ignored, the car continues to run on older settings. The difference may not be obvious during daily driving, but improvements that could enhance performance are missed. Keeping the system updated allows the transmission to function according to the latest refinements. It is a simple step that supports smoother operation without requiring any change in driving habits. Mistake number 12. Reversing immediately after starting the engine. When starting the car, especially in a parking area, many drivers shift into reverse right away and begin moving without any pause. It feels natural, especially when in a hurry or following a routine. At the moment of start, the transmission fluid has not fully circulated through the system. Components are just beginning to reach a stable operating state. Applying load immediately places stress on parts that are not yet working at their most efficient level. There is no immediate sign of strain, which makes the habit easy to repeat without concern. However, allowing even a short moment before engaging gear gives the system time to settle. A brief pause after starting the engine can help create a smoother transition into movement and reduce unnecessary stress during those initial seconds. Mistake number 13. Using manual mode without understanding gear limits. Manual mode can make driving feel more controlled, especially when you want to manage speed or engine response more precisely. Because of that, some drivers begin to use it frequently, even in everyday traffic, without fully understanding how it is meant to be used. Although manual mode allows gear selection, the transmission still operates within built-in limits. It is designed to protect itself from conditions that could cause strain. When gears are selected at speeds that do not match the engine's natural range, the system has to adjust. Sometimes it delays the shift, and other times it overrides the input quietly. From the driver's seat, it may not feel like anything is wrong. The car continues moving, and there are no clear warning signs. However, repeated use in unsuitable conditions can lead to uneven shifting behavior and added stress inside the system. Manual mode works best when used with purpose, such as maintaining control on slopes or steady driving, rather than constant changes during normal traffic. Mistake number 14. Driving short distances without allowing a full operating cycle. Short drives are part of daily routines, whether it is a quick trip to a nearby shop or a short commute within the neighborhood. In these cases, the vehicle is started, driven for a few minutes, and then turned off before reaching a stable operating condition. During these brief drives, the transmission does not have enough time to settle into its normal working range. Fluid circulation begins, but it does not fully stabilize. Temperature levels remain lower than ideal, and internal components continue operating in an early phase. When this pattern repeats regularly, the system spends most of its time in this incomplete state. It does not cause an immediate problem, which is why it often goes unnoticed. Including occasional longer drives allows the transmission to reach a more balanced condition. It helps maintain smoother operation and supports more consistent performance during regular use. Final thought. Most transmission problems do not begin with a sudden failure. They usually develop through small repeated habits that feel normal during daily driving. A slight change in how the car is handled can make a meaningful difference in how it performs and how long it stays reliable. The goal is not to drive perfectly, but to be a little more aware of how these patterns affect the system. Simple adjustments, done consistently, often help avoid larger concerns later. If you found this helpful and want more clear practical guidance like this, you may consider subscribing.